I'd like to go ahead and get started if there's no objection. I'd like to welcome everyone. This is the meeting of the Senate Medical Affairs Committee. I pray that God continues to bless us all. Welcome everyone. You have the agenda before you. First of all, we have statewide appointments. I'd like to call up Ms. Seema Shrivastava-Patel from Lexington, Board of Health and Environmental Control. Good morning, ma'am. I'm sorry? Well, I've been worried about it all night.
Oh, making the chairman worried. That's
Thank you.
very cool.
Thank you. Well, for the record, if you would give us your full name.
It's Seema Shrivastava legally, but I go by Seema Shrivastava-Patel.
Okay, great.
My husband's back there.
Okay, good. Welcome. Let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Would you like to make a brief statement to the committee while you'd like to serve on this board?
I would. Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I'd like to say that it would be an honor to serve the state of South Carolina in the Board of Health and Environmental Control. I was born and raised in South Carolina. I'm a graduate of USC. I'm president of Caroline Convenience Corporation. We own convenience stores that supply fuel. We own a chain of restaurants, and we're located in Lexington, South Carolina. We employ over 200 employees. I would say that with my business background, I'll be able to bring value to the board of DHEC. On a personal note, like I said, I was born and raised in South Carolina. I grew up with the most beautiful beaches, the most beautiful rivers, the most beautiful lakes, the most beautiful mountains, and the most beautiful land. And now that I have children and I'm raising them in South Carolina, I want them to inherit the same South Carolina that I grew up with. I want future generations to be able to inherit the same South Carolina that I grew up with. So again, I'd like to say what an honor it is to be appointed to the board of DHEC by the governor, and I'd like to say thank you for your time.
Thank you for your willingness to serve. Staff has a few questions for you.
Thank you. Ms. Shrivastava is from Lexington. She is being appointed to the 2nd Congressional District seat with a term which commenced on June 30th, 2017, expiring on June 30th, 2021. Her paperwork is all in order, and we've received everything that we need from her. But if you will answer these questions.
Yes.
Do you or any member of your family own or operate any business which contracts with state or federal government?
No.
Do you or any member of your family own or operate any business which receives state or federal funds from DHEC?
No.
Have you ever been arrested, charged, or held by federal, state, or other law enforcement authorities for violation of the law, regulation, or ordinance?
No.
Has a tax lien or collection procedure ever been instituted against you personally by federal, state, or local authorities?
No.
Have you ever been disciplined or cited for a breach of ethics or unprofessional conduct by any court, agency, association, or professional group?
No.
Are you now or have you ever been employed as a lobbyist or acted in the capacity of a lobbyist principal?
No.
Do you know any reason you would have difficulties performing the duties of the DHEC board?
I do not.
Thank you.
Thank you. Senator from Spartanburg, Senator Martin, had to be out of town and he can't be here, but he wanted me to read this into the record. He said, I am well acquainted with Seema and very familiar with her work, ethic, and character. Therefore, I'm confident in recommending Ms. Patel for the DHEC board. She is brilliant and accomplished executive, and who I have no doubt will be an asset to South Carolina and DHEC. He wanted me to read that into the record.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any members have any questions or comments? Senator from Lexington, Ms. Shealy.
I also have a comment that I also know her personally and think that she would be a great asset to the board, and she does a great job at what she does personally, her business, and she's a great asset to our community in Lexington, and at the appropriate time, I would like to move for a favorable report, or however we say that here.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. We'll, Senator from Charleston, Senator Kempson.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm great. How about you?
Good, good. Are you aware that DHEC supervises rules and regulations with respect to the permitting of chicken farms.
Oh, they're into everything.
Yeah. So that's one of the industries that comes under the purview of DHEC. We recently discussed House Bill 3929. In fairness to you, you were not a board member. But that discussion consumed several days of debate on the Senate floor. Do you think it's, and this is, it's okay if you don't want to answer this question. Do you know whether board members get involved in setting the policy in South Carolina for DHEC's rules and regulations?
So I want to make sure I understand your question correctly. The question is if DHEC board members get
Have
involved with the
input.
policies
That's right.
in implementing them or developing them.
Developing them, consultation with the executive director.
You know, Senator, I don't know the answer to that question, but I can get back to you in a timely manner if that's all right.
It's okay.
Yep.
What was a major portion of my concern? And I just want you, as you go forward, because you got a lot of support, and I'm impressed by your business background.
Thank you.
In sum, this agency has given away their authority to regulate the setbacks with respect to chicken growers. You know, chicken growers can have as many as 100,000 chicken in a neighborhood where people live. I guess my time is up.
Or it's just comedy hour because I'm up here.
Take that as a sign, Senator Austin.
Chicken farms.
Yeah.
They can have, DHEC has the ability to regulate the setbacks required. And this agency has voluntarily agreed to relinquish their authority with respect to setting those setbacks because of this bill. It was my position that we ought to have DHEC involved on a case-by-case basis because there is not one setback that can be applied to every situation. For example, in the bill that we passed, chicken farms would be allowed to set up within a certain number of feet, I think it's 400, from a river. You talked about you like the rivers and lakes, and I understand that. If the rivers and lakes are contaminated with chicken waste, then we won't be able to enjoy them as well. So as you go forward, I would encourage you to monitor the executives, the administrative personnel in charge to make sure that this example doesn't become an example for other big industry who petitions this State House to roll back regulations which limit the rights of citizens to petition big chicken houses from moving in residential communities and where they might be somewhat detrimental to the private enjoyment or the enjoyment, public enjoyment of our natural landscape in South Carolina.
I'll remember to keep that in mind.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Senator from Anderson, Senator Gambrell.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'd just like to reiterate what the senator from Spartanburg said in his remarks, and the senator from Lexington. Seema and her family and my family usually end up at the same conference together every summer, and I'm on the legislative panel. Most time legislative panels are pretty easy list, but I'm gonna tell you, she keeps us on our toes with a lot of hard questions, and if she carries that attitude to DHEC will be better for her being a member of this board.
Thank you for saying that.
Senator from Martinsburg, Senator Hutto.
Good morning.
Good morning.
We have had the unfortunate occurrence in most small counties to be faced with crises with our hospitals, and in fact, several have closed. And now we are faced with the bigger hospital systems merging. And I know if you're from Lexington, you've got a fine hospital over there in the Lexington Medical Center. But do you have any opinion or anything that you could share with us about what you see? I mean, one of the main things that DHEC does is oversee the health part of that, and a lot of that goes to hospitals and certificate of need, which has been, the chairman will tell you, the subject of many discussions over many years of whether we need certificate of need or we don't. But do you have any background in hospitals or any thoughts that you would share with us about what you think about the future of the hospital system in South Carolina?
You know, I have my opinions, but recommendations, not as yet. I would say that I would need to sit back and really look at and read the information and come back to you. I really don't have an opinion on that just yet. But if you would like me to, I could.
No, I just want you to put that on your radar screen because there are many who think that probably within 5 to 10 years there may be only 3 or 5 hospitals in South Carolina.
Right.
You know, if Greenville and Columbia merge and the rural hospitals are closing or being taken over by the larger regional hospitals, that it won't be long before we just got 3 hospital systems, 4 or 5, whatever, in this state. And that's a big change from what people are used to, which is going to your local hospital. And so it's going to be a big change, and I think it's going to be something that lands directly in front of the DHEC board potentially. So I just want to make you aware that that's something I think you need to study up on.
I have a lot of friends that are physicians, I'm aware. Yeah.
Okay. Well, now the physicians have a totally different opinion about
Yeah,
what
they
ought to
do.
happen to the hospital.
And you have to take both sides, I'm
That's
aware.
right.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Senator from Lexington, I think the time is appropriate. Senator from Lexington, Senator Shealy moves favorable, seconded by Senator Davis. Any other discussion? Hearing none, we'll take it to a vote. All in favor, raise your right hand. Thank you. It's unanimous.
Thank you.
Thank you again.